Hey, welcome to episode 193 of the Titanforge podcast. I'm Dratnos, joined by Tettles.
What up? We're back.
And Trell.
What up? We are so back.
We are
You're
so
back.
This week we have a pretty exciting episode, actually, I think. One that should be hopefully pretty useful to everybody. We are going to do a dungeon guide, kind of like most important things about each of the 8 new dungeons that are coming in the season that's starting next week. So that should be pretty helpful, hopefully, for people that haven't had as much PTR testing and such. And yeah, that's the vibe for today. We were at BlizzCon last week, so there was no episode then, and there will be no episode the next 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how long the Race to World First goes, or 3 or 4, depending on how long the Race to World First goes. So
there was a Sepulchre thing that one time that we got like trapped.
The Sepulchre incident, yeah. If that happens again, then we'll figure it out.
Do you remember showing back up and doing the podcast after a month and like 2 weeks after Sepulchre? And we're just like, yeah. So podcast.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I don't think it's likely that this one will go that long or anything, but it could. You never know. So
never know.
But yeah, thanks to everybody who came to say hi to us at BlizzCon. We kind of had a little impromptu meetup on Saturday that we kind of announced last minute before you and I had to cast Settles, which was was pretty cool out in front of the fountain there. And then we went upstairs and waited 3 hours up there for the PvP to be done and the computers to be ready so we would cast.
I was wondering about that. It was really cool to see a lot of people out there by the fountain, though. It was a good time.
Yeah, and anybody who missed us or whatever, next year I'm sure we'll do it again. So, cool. So there was a lot of stuff announced at BlizzCon, which I think we should maybe briefly talk about before we get into the week 1 stuff and the dungeon preview, but that's not really the main topic of this episode. There's a lot of other content out there you can find, a lot of faster reactions that people got up on their own channels and stuff, where you can hear more about those sorts of things. So we're not going to focus too hard on that, and instead we're going to do this dungeon preview thing so we have a little bit more of a niche to fill. But yeah, so 3 expansions in a row coming out.
I thought it was pretty interesting. Like, I think the 3 expansion model, I think that's something we need to kind of tell is like what the roadmap looks like for their expansion release process. It seems like they kind of want to shoot content at us a bit faster, especially since they're like announcing all these 3 expansions at once. I kind of expect there to be, faster content pacing.
Yeah, they did say in one of the interviews, like, we plan to get this saga done before 2030, which is like faster than... Yes. It means they're aiming for something less than the 2 years per expansion thing, but obviously this specific The War Within expansion is announced for fall 2024, which is still 2 years of Dragonflight, which is still 1 full year of Dragonflight from now to then, which is like... That kind of sucks. I feel kind of rough about that, given that there's no more raid tiers, which is another thing they announced.
So I think after 2019, I think we were still doing the podcast, and I think that there was something that we were critical of was like the covenants. Like, we were critical of like the systems. I think the only thing that there is to really be critical of is like going until fall of 2024. Like, this expansion that we're currently in going until fall of 2024 does not look ideal.
I think a lot of that is the Faded thing too. I think they said in a quote, people really like Faded, but I feel like everyone we talk to does not like Faded.
I liked Faded because it was supplemental and I didn't expect anything. I don't like Faded if it's a replacement and it's like something that's built in. I thought that Faded was cool whenever it was 4 or 5 people building something on top of what was pre-existing to try to get us to the end of the expansion. But if it's something that's like
it's a bit of like, I mean, this is going to be the same timeline as Shadowlands, right? So Faded will be the same kind of thing as it was in Shadowlands, but it's a little bit different when it's like there's an expansion where things are going along fast pace and you're like expecting to get full content out of the expansion or a faster new expansion, and instead they're like, no, we're going to do Faded again, right? Like, that's Faded is worse than either of those things, but it's better than three content patches and no Faded, right? But
that's true. I mean, I think the biggest part of that is people just didn't like the Faded raids that were re-released raid tiers that were very, very recent. Like, maybe if they did some banger raid tiers like Nighthold, and some other all-time favorites instead of Razageth again, I think maybe that would go over a little bit better.
I mean, they said they're giving us Dinars back, I think, too.
Yeah, That's gonna be cool.
What-
Although it's gonna suck if we only ever get Dinars in the one season that we don't really care about for other reasons. But
Would you what if they gave us 3 tier sets to pick from?
yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of interesting.
That'd be
Although
interesting.
they have nerfed the good old tier sets, right? If they unnerfed them,
Yeah, true.
could be kind of a
Unnerfed
vibe.
Like
Yeah.
currently Vengeance's tier set is just gutted. Like this latest tier set's dead.
Yeah, like they took some of them just and made sure that we wouldn't want to keep them over over Amir Jasil tier, but that kind of removes the interest in having 3 sets. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with Fated to the extent of like I hope it's fun, but I like Fated as I think it's a better way to fill a content drought, but it is unfortunate that we're getting another content drought after for so long it seemed like, and even in the announcements they were still talking about like fast pace and stuff, and it's like, okay, well,
yeah.
but we are still getting another content drought, like
Yeah.
another expansion in a row.
I guess
of-
that
it's
has
a
to
one
mean
it's a 1 year like
yeah, like,
projection.
that's we had this at the end of Shadowlands, right? Where it's like, although that was actually even a shorter gap between Sepulcher and Vaults of the Incarnates is going to be a shorter gap than between Amir Drasil and the next, right?
Because Sepulcher was March and Vault of the
Yeah.
Incarnates came out in December,
December.
and this is November to at best case
Probably
scenario September.
Yeah, so
yeah,
an extra
exactly.
month at least, and maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I thought the 11.0 stuff that they announced was all pretty cool, though. You know, I thought the hero talent system was actually pretty nice. I thought the delve stuff. I mean, I don't know if delves are necessarily going to be for me, but as long as it's like not Torghast, I think it can hit the spot. And it seemed like they've learned from what was wrong with Torghast.
yeah,
more like islands, but less necessary than even islands, right?
yeah, and I think that the fact that it's role agnostic, scalable from 1 to 5 players, like that sounds kind of
Yeah.
like the perfect thing. But I do think it's not aimed for us. So as long as it's not, if it's fun for us and not aimed for us, that's great. That's like some extra stuff to do whenever we're logging in. If it's not fun for us, but it's fun for the people it's aimed for, that's also great, right? Like that's fine. Happy to see that as well.
I noticed when they introduced the hero talent system, they made sure to not say these words exactly, but to really make sure that everyone knew this, that they were freely swappable,
Yeah.
unlike covenants.
Yeah, they emphasize it's like exactly the same as swapping talents, right? Is swapping your hero talents.
I think that people would have been so salty if it was Covenants.
Dude, imagine
Oh, yeah,
imagine
they
if
had this hero on
they
that.
imagine if they announced hero talents and then just they put up a slide that shows 0 out of 10 hero energy.
I think they would have gotten booed. Man. Like,
It would have been such a
would've
good
been, like,
bit, though.
just
It would have been so
silence.
funny if they just done
That
it in
house-
a bit.
the house was so hot for like all the WoW announcements.
Yeah.
I think they might have gotten booed if they announced some bullshit like that.
Imagine if they'd done it as a joke, though. It would have been so funny. Would have been so
I
That
would've
would've
funny.
been
laughed,
funny,
but-
actually.
Yeah.
Would you guys be okay if they had like a mini raid between now and next expansion?
That would be better than nothing, but
I think so. Yeah, that'd be
you know,
cool.
I feel sort of similarly to Faded, where it's like, okay, yeah, this is better than nothing, but it's worse than regular
I'm
stuff.
surprised at how fast they gave us patches, like 10.15, 10.17, 10.05, 10.07, and now they have this.
Yeah,
This-
and they
it's
have said
just
there's
so
going to be
weird.
more, including some cool unannounced stuff along those lines. So maybe those could be cool. But I will say, 10.0.5, 10.0.7, 10.1.5, and 10.1.7 didn't really hit for me as like adding much content I wanted to do. I think aside from
Yeah.
Zscara Vaults, which Zscara Vaults were actually a pretty fun mini
Yeah,
game
that
for
was a
me.
good,
Like
like, in-between
I
thing.
liked playing those as Zscara Vaults. I thought that was actually pretty nifty. Obviously there was a good reward behind it as well, but like even independently of that, I was kind of just having a good time. But like Time Rifts, Dream Surges, I played those and they didn't hit for me. So hopefully if they're adding more, if it's going to be like 10.1.5, 10.1.7, 10.1.8, 10.1.9 or whatever, it's like, okay, hopefully these are hopefully they put some good stuff in there. Like if they revamp a Mage Tower or a Brawlers Guild or something like that for one of those patches, it could be a vibe.
I wouldn't be shocked if like our season 4 dungeon pool is literally all the Dragonflight dungeons.
Yeah, I think that's
I mean, that's
I guess it's
logical,
pretty likely.
right? Like that.
Yeah.
I think that's it seems pretty likely what we're going to get. Which I mean, that's not bad, right?
That sounds good.
It's
I mean, I think it would be weird if we only had one season each of these dungeons, right? Like
that would be kind of weird.
I feel like 2 is the number I'd be expecting for them. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously the other stuff they announced about the upcoming dungeons, like the account-wide everything basically that Warbands represents
the
is
Warbands, yeah,
Oh, I wish
that
I had
is
that right now.
extremely legendary. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
yeah,
I don't
cannot
know.
wait for that. That's going to be so cool.
I really do hope though that like they actually end up hitting a better rhythm for content pacing. I mean, I think that was not only one of the biggest criticisms of Shadowlands, but Shadowlands gave us bad content at a slow pace. At least this expansion has been, I think the content's been pretty good, all things considered, at a good pace. And it's like seeing there be a content drought at the end of the expansion, it kind of sucks. I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I think Dragonflight's been like the first half of Dragonflight was just super fast paced, like really, really good stuff happening consistently, really good tuning happening consistently as well. And then everything kind of halted, which is logical because they're working on the next thing, obviously. But if something was there to tide us over, I think everyone would really like that.
It sounds like they're trying for this, like this World Soul Saga set of 3 expansions to have them all have a good pace, right? And have that not really happen with it. But it's like Dragonflight is going to be the victim of that, right? Like, but then hopefully War Within and Midnight don't fall victim to that same thing, and hopefully by the time Midnight's done, they've got some good work started on 14.0 or whatever.
Saw a quick talk about the Microsoft merger. I mean, this might be like completely unrelated, but like I thought it was like pretty insightful what he was saying about how the merge with Activision made the studio a bit weird in regards to like time sensitivity and like really creating good games and quality assurance and stuff like that. And he said that he thinks that the acquisition with Microsoft is actually going to help their processes a lot and help them release content in a timely manner and like actually create like a great game as opposed to whatever Activision was pushing. And obviously that's like speaking from an internal perspective, what is that really going to look like to the consumer? Who knows? But
yeah, that's really interesting to hear. Like it's a little controversial in my brain because I think Blizzard has historically been like, we produce things at a slightly slower pace, but they're really, really good quality things. And then they kind of lost that recently with their like forced hand with Activision, just a little bit. But like them saying they're going to speed up the process, but then also saying they're back to their independent studio at the same time is like, I don't know exactly what they mean by that.
Yeah, I've always been a bit wary of the like Activision bad, right? Like Activision is the source of all these problems, because if you actually look at the timelines of like when the Activision merger happened is a lot earlier than people actually
Activision merger was like 2010, 2012,
like ages ago.
Yeah.
Let's see, Activision
Blizzard
merger. Okay. Any of my searches now show me the Microsoft one.
Yeah, just see the Microsoft one.
But yeah, either way, it's I remember it being a lot earlier than like I had thought when you hear the whole it all went downhill when Activision acquired them bit.
Yeah, I don't know. This is mainly just like what we could say theory crafting based on people I've talked to and
speculation.
Even 2008 was the year, by the way. 2008.
That's so fucking early.
Yeah, that's not even what I was saying. I was thinking like 3 years ago or whatever.
Nah.
Yeah, which like maybe they tightened the grip on Blizzard or something then, but I don't know. I feel like the studio being more independent is probably a good thing, but I don't think that the studio not being independent was necessarily the reason that the bad decisions were made, especially in like 9.0 and stuff.
I think the decision-making processes have been better, at least for direction of the game.
Yeah, I do think it's been trending upward, and it's been trending upwards for the past couple of years even.
I mean, I don't know. Shadowlands should have been a banger, and they just fucking ruined it. Like everybody was locked inside with COVID, and like the numbers for Castle Nathri were insane, and then they just completely bombed that expansion.
It was tragic.
It was really tragic.
It was so sad as well because you could see exactly why it was gonna suck, and you try and help, and it just nothing. You're just watching the train crash in slow motion.
Yeah. If only someone would have told them about target cap, locked covenants, and conduit energy.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
That we could have given more feedback, I think, during alpha. That's on us.
And Covenant-specific dungeon buffs. And,
Covenant-specific dungeon buffs, that was a good one. Yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude. That was such a bad one, too.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That one stayed all the way through the expansion as well.
Oh, no gear in Castle Nath. You got like one piece of loot.
Mounting
Yeah.
the maw.
Mounting the
The
Maw,
Maw, oh.
I'm a Maw apologist. I thought the Maw was actually like there. It was kind of fun the first few weeks to do the Maw.
I will say though that one of the good things that they took away from that is farmable sockets. Not that bad.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the sockets now are not farmable, right? Like they're just Great Vault
Yeah,
sockets,
Vault acquired.
which is
Wow.
much
Vault was-
better than like
the
game
Vault
for
was
6
added
weeks
too?
to get it. Yeah, Great Vault was a Shadowlands feature.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I said.
Yeah, that
Vault
was a great
added in
Shadowlands feature.
Sure.
Yeah,
They're
We're really
definitely some
picking
good stuff.
We're really picking the bottom of the barrel here.
yeah. Castle Napper was a great raid. Sepulchre was a pretty good raid. I think a great raid even. Sanctum had some great bosses. Had one great boss. Yeah,
It had Shards of Domination, bro.
it did. Yeah, it had bad system, but it had one. It had Painsmith. That's an all-time boss.
Yeah, that was a good boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Ignore the others.
Anyways, let's get into our not actually our main topic yet, but we have a little bit more to talk about with 10.2 before we get to our dungeon preview, which is just a quick discussion of like what's going on this week in 10.2 and next week and stuff. Which by the time you're listening to this, it's very likely that you either already knew about all this stuff or it's not relevant for you, or both. But it's still, I think, interesting to talk about, kind of to contextualize what's happening, and especially for like
Yeah.
Race to World First watchers that want to sort of know what's going on with the Race to World First. So the new rep that is available this week, the Dream Wardens, has a couple of rewards at Renown 18. There's an Infinite Augment rune you can purchase.
yes.
And Renown 20, there is a Enchanted Dreaming Worm's Crest, which is the heroic upgrade crest reagent that you can use for crafted gear.
There's also some gear that you get along the way that is
Yeah, like
on
441 stuff on veteran track, right?
Yeah, it's on veteran track. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out what track it was on.
It goes up
Yeah.
like 463 or something,
Mhm.
which, you know,
It's not
potentially
bad.
somewhat useful. Yeah, and can be a good sink of some of these Whelplings and Drake's Crests that you're otherwise probably not going to get too much value out of. Although, of course, you can uptrade them, but it's at a pretty low rate. So
Uptrading is generally pretty bad because uptrading consumes like the weekly cap. So
yeah,
it's, like,
exactly. The fact that the uptrade goes against the cap of the thing you're converting into makes it pretty much worthless to like you don't need to worry about. You can use your Whelplings and Drake's Crest basically on anything that would be good, basically. Worm's Crest very valuable though. Hold on to those. Hold on to Worms. Hold on to Aspects. Both of those are extremely high value crests for the next several weeks for basically everybody.
Is there
I
any
saw
way
some-
to get Worm or Aspect Crest this week besides Renown 20?
And that's not even like Worm's Crest. That's an enchanted one. It's not like
Yeah.
the ones that you can use for upgrades. But yeah, there's no way to get them, and the cap hasn't started yet this week. So the cap is 90 for Drakes and Whelplings, and it'll go up to 180 next week, and it's 0 this week for Worms and Aspects, and it'll go up to 90 next week.
I mean, we were talking about this like 2 weeks ago. This stuff is really still not okay. So there are some people who are farming out Renown 20.
Yeah.
Renown 20 is still not the most important thing to farm, and like honestly, you get the Infinite Augment rune out of it. You get the Enchanted Worm's Crest out of it. You know, those aren't bad. Like those are not bad things, but ultimately those get replaced. I don't want to say pretty quick, but they get replaced quickly. And at the end of the day, too, you have to use that Enchanted Worm's Crest with a spark, and so there's like a limited resource on like how much you're actually going to get out of the Enchanted Worm's Crest. Like it is good, right? Like at the end of the day, that is a resource that you have a finite amount of. But like but I would say do not feel obligated to grind Dream Warden's rep if you don't want to. Like that, it gets replaced pretty quick.
And depending on what you've done, you probably are already kind of bricked. If you're not willing to like farm a boatload of seeds, you're probably already kind of bricked for getting like if you've done stuff on your main already. Because the way that you do this grind is you get to Renown 10 on your alt, and then you start playing your main with the speed boost. Or the way that the Race to World First guilds are doing it, that got any character that got a lot of value before they nerfed the seeds the first time, could get to Renown 20 on their main. And if you got to Renown 20 on your main, you are golden, and you can get Renown 20 on all your characters if you want it.
Yeah, I woke up on Wednesday and I saw that some people had been farming seeds all night and they were at Renown 17, and I was like, no way, dude.
Yeah, those people
That's
are
so many seeds.
So people, you might be wondering like, why is the Enchanted Worm's Crest good even? Because in previous seasons it's like this was pretty worthless. That was something where you could get it and it doesn't really matter if you got one last season. This season is a lot better because the alternate, like last season, you got more Aspect Crest than you knew what to do with, right? Even by the end of the like second week, every aspect crest could only be used on once per item because it took an item from hero 4 out of 5 to hero 5 out of 5. And that was it for what aspect crest to do besides being turned into enchanted aspect crest.
Yeah.
So you would just had infinite aspect crest if you were hitting your cap of them, and you would just use enchanted aspect crest on all your crafted gear. This season, you will get 6 instead of 10 aspect upgrades per week. And instead of having 1 upgrade per item slot, you get 4 because you can take things up 4 levels on the myth track or even 2 levels on the hero track in the aspect range.
The myth track is already implemented, right?
Yeah, and the myth track, we're having the myth track on launch. So that makes the aspect crest a lot more valuable, which means if you can get a free enchanted worms crest, right? If you can get one from the renown track, that lets you get a 476 crafted piece instead of a 486 crafted piece. So if you would get value on your character from downgrading a crafted piece from 486 to 476, and then getting 4 aspect crest upgrades out of the deal, which for most people you can, then this is an upgrade for you. And so that's why you're seeing Race World First guilds do this. Some high-end guilds are doing this.
Yeah, because, I mean, it impacts people who are rating mythic. Yeah. Like, and you're killing a bunch of mythic bosses early, you're going to have a decent amount of mythic gear also, right? Like, where you...
Yeah, I mean, if you get 2 pieces of myth track gear, that you can use all your aspect crests on those. And so you can get value out of this there. And also, using the enchanted worms crest gives you potentially another slot that you could. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty small in the scheme of things, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, there's nothing to do this week except for this. I mean, so everybody's doing it that cares, right?
Okay, so for a guild like yours, when do you think that enchanted worms crest gets replaced? I'm thinking like week 4?
I think it's after that. I think this represents power for longer than that because again, you're getting 6 aspect crests per week and 6
you
worms
craft over it.
Yeah, so. How late into the season would you downgrade one of your, would you take 10 eye levels off of a crafted piece to gain 14 eye levels across your character?
Sure. Okay.
That makes sense. Season, right?
Yeah, that does make sense. It is a small gain in the grand scheme of things, but for Dryness' guild, yeah, you guys are probably progging 4 or 5 weeks, or is it less typically?
It depends. I think we did Aberrus in 3, but we did Razageth in 5 or 6 or something. So I don't know. It depends on the.
I mean, it definitely matters for Race Roll First guilds because that's literally just it's plus huge. 3 worms.
Obviously, they're they're just getting value out of it for sure
because they're trying to kill that shit week 1.
Yeah, I mean, again, you basically are dropping if you're using this instead of an enchanted aspect crest, you're dropping 10 eye levels on your crafted piece, and you're getting 12 to 14 across the rest of your character. But you may be crafting, if you're crafting like 2-hander, if your first 2 sparks are going into a 2-hander, which not a lot of people are doing that because that's kind of weird with embellishments.
That's a lot of time you have to wait too for
and also weapon. If you're doing that, you would definitely slam an aspect into that rather than doing worms.
A 2-hander, holy
shit. That's not really something people are doing anymore. Yeah,
I feel like most people are going embellishment 1 into embellishment 2 into
But so if your embellishment
1-hander,
if you're if one of your embellishments is like bracers or something, right? Or if it's like if you're just one of those people that's like, oh, there aren't really good embellishments for me, right? Like I'll just craft something and then you can just put that craft on put one of them as a heroic craft on a medium value slot. And
I will say though that a lot of the embellishments scale with item level.
Yeah.
And since the crafted pieces go up to 486 item level, the unfortunate reality is that you need to fucking slam it on an embellishment as opposed to slamming it on a fucking weapon because I mean Blue Silken Lining is just to use that for an example, it is like an insane amount of mastery gain. It's like I want to say it's like 400 to 1200 mastery going from 440 to 486. So it's
that's crazy.
I guess I have to craft it at that.
You can also get extreme value out of a crafted piece by putting it in a chest slot if possible. Like Dryness and I last year both played Brew for our respective guilds, and so we both crafted in our chest, I think, and we put our toxic patch there or something.
Yeah, I think I didn't end up doing that, but it was good. I think I got a reasonably good chest piece or something pretty early. So, but you're absolutely right that if you do that and then you put aspects on it, you can gain 30 eye levels on an important slot.
Yeah,
and get the extra stat budget out of it, and get a high eye level embellishment, and that's. I think people will still want to do that with Aspect Crest, and it's possible that there will be some characters that just don't even want a free Enchanted Worms Crest, but there are a lot that will, so in the Race to World First Guilds or whatever. That's why they're doing that this week. But it's not like it's one of the things that the only reason they're doing it is because there's nothing else valuable to do, right? And so they will, they would spend 100 hours right now to save 30 minutes next week, right? Like that is a deal that they would take. And I think this is a little bit more efficient than that, but not much. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about it if you're not already doing it. If you are interested, then, you probably are already a little behind if you haven't started doing it properly yet already, but it's
at this point, it's going to take you like 10 times the amount of time. They hotfixed the basically an exploit where you could go straight from renown 9 to 18 with one click, and then they also nerfed and changed the reputation you got from seeds yesterday like 6 times across the day, to where now it's like 5 rep per seed after you do your weekly 5 seeds.
Yeah.
So it's going to take quite a while.
The other thing to note about this week is that it's a good week to do a key for next week. Keys are going to degrade by 11 levels. Plus 1 if you deplete it, right? Just like usual, from this week to next week. So if you time a 25, you'll get a 14. If you deplete a 25, you'll get a 13 next week, which it's better than getting a 2 or 0 or 3, right? Like if you're somebody who's capable of doing those keys, if you're capable of doing keys higher than like that 15 range, you should do those this week to save yourself some time next week. If not, then like if you're only hanging out at that 15-ish key level range anyways, then you probably don't even have to bother because you just start with the +2 next week and that's fine anyways. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but that's worth doing. And then even if you're not doing the rep abuse stuff, you should do the campaign on your main character because you do want to progress the campaign, and there's a good chance that there will be another Enchanted Worms crest from a Kill for Rock quest at some point in that campaign. Usually there is, so
probably some more rep too.
Yeah, I'm sure that next week's step will have some rep in it and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if those have all been data mined or something, but yeah.
One thing to note about doing a weekly key this week for those that want to, like I did a couple of no levers yesterday. The scaling has been upped, so keys are probably 2 to 3 levels higher than they would normally feel. So like a 28, 29 now feels like 32 from last week. So it was pretty tough, just so anyone's aware.
Yeah, so good luck if you're out there trying to get your key done. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help that God Comp has been supremely nerfed again.
Yeah, Shadow Breeze is like
awful
garbage. Bear is severely nerfed. Vengeance doesn't have a tier set. Basically, it's pretty tough.
Shadow's straight trash.
Log into Blood Decay. Log in.
Okay, Crassus.
Yeah, but that's basically it that's going on this week, right? Like other than that, chill week. If you're not looking to be a seed farmer and rush that renown 18 or 20 for the augment rune or for the crest, then it's another one of those weeks ever since 9.2 where you just don't have to actually log in during the first week of the patch, which is kind of weird to me still, right? Like,
yeah.
I think Shroud logged into the game yesterday as well, or 2 days ago as well, and had a similar experience as well, where it's like, like patch day hype is a real thing for a lot of other games, and it's so strange that WoW desyncs their patch date hype from their like time that the people who actually play the game a lot have anything to do. Honestly, besides farming seeds.
Launch the raid in Mythic Plus with the patch. Like, I don't understand why we have to have it separated like this.
Yeah. I guess I'm also not really sure what's being accomplished anymore.
I can see it from like a stability standpoint. Yeah, technical standpoint, where they need like the long maintenance on Tuesday. They needed the entire day to launch.
I mean, we're not going to we probably don't get maintenance this next Tuesday, right? But because we got maintenance this Tuesday.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
You think so?
I mean, Squid is, I don't know.
I think we'll get both long maintenances because they have to go in and test the raid and M plus for a long time. Like you always
think
see
we're going to get double long maintenance. I think that this maintenance is going to be short.
Okay. I'll bet you 100k gold.
Okay.
Okay. What's short? Give me a time frame.
What's the line?
I bet maintenance is.
I bet it's under 2 hours.
Okay. I bet it's over.
Okay.
2 hour maintenance. There you have it. 100,000 gold. Don't even have to say which server anymore. Easy trades.
We can actually just do it.
Server.
Nice.
Yeah. I can be the escrow if you guys would both like to trade me, and then I'll definitely trade back whoever wins. Yeah. So We can set that up later, yeah. But yeah, okay, so that's coming up next week. Then everything actually does open, which that'll be fun. We'll get the race, we'll get the keys and stuff. Let's get to the dungeon preview. But first, it's time for our tip of the week. My tip of the week is there is an Emerald Dream portal in Valdrakken if you haven't found it.
That's a good tip.
Oh, that's a great tip.
That's a good tip.
If you stand at the fountain and you aim towards the Great Vault, it is up and over that building in a little green pool thing up on top of like that building. So go use that if you need to traverse between Valdrakken and Emerald Dream. Don't keep flying to and from the Onaran Plains or whatever. That's a pain.
It's funny that there's always just like a new portal, but you have to like go and find it in Valdrakken.
Yeah.
There's never like a
dude. Oh man, it's like, oh, you don't know about the portal to Uldaman, man? It's,
the Uldaman.
It's in the third hut on the left. You know, no mark on your map. Yeah, not near the other 3 portals to the dungeons.
I don't think they should add a portal to throw to the tides. I think they should make you fly there.
That's good.
You mean swim?
Yeah.
Well, you have to fly to not get fatigued.
I don't even know how to get there. I gotta be honest with you.
I had to take a thumbnail today, and so I had to fly there. It was a trek.
You can port from Stormwind or Orgrimmar to Vashir.
I didn't have the port for some reason,
so
I had to fly over the water.
That's not good. That's
fine.
You probably have to like do some of the intro, or you're probably like at some step in a quest where you don't have a portal or something.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play in Kata, so I wouldn't have it.
Oh no. You got it, dude. You got to go. That's some new work to do before next expansion is play through the old expansions to get all the portals to the places so that you can have them when they become dungeons each season.
Thank God I have 11 months.
Yeah.
I got to get my Dead Mines portal.
Yeah.
In advance.
Okay, Trell, what is your tip of the week?
Just a couple of resources for the new zone Emerald Dream. So there's a really handy add-on called Plumber. I have no idea why it's called Plumber. It seems completely unrelated, but it it shows you like all the seed timers on your map whenever you open it up. It's really nice quality of life for the seeds. If you want to just like stop at any seed while you're flying to do something and get some free reputation. And then there's also a weak aura I linked that's it's just like it's like the typical patch rare tracker / quest tracker. It'll just tell you what you can do for some additional rep if you haven't already done that stuff.
Have you thought maybe it's plum burr, like a fruit? Like
yeah, maybe it's like plum picker kind of thing.
Plum burr.
Okay, yeah, and the plums are the fruit and the seeds. That makes sense.
Exactly.
All right, Tuddles, what is your tip of the week?
Okay, so I don't have a clip. I do have a tip though. If you go into like where the how do you describe this place? It's where all the training dummies are in Valdrakken, and you go and hang a left. There's like a PvP quest that requires you to have war mode on, and it gives you 1,000 rep. It's actually very, very valuable, worth doing.
Yeah, there's also a PvP quest in that zone.
Mm-hmm. Also a PvP quest. Yep.
It's like double win-win there.
Yeah. You have to get like Sparks of Life, and I think you just like naturally get it from just like doing objectives.
You get it from PvE content in that zone.
Yeah.
While you have war mode on, but you can just join a group for like just search Sparks in the custom groups for both PvE and PvE actually, and you'll find them in both of those sections, and then just you sit at the graveyard and fight for 5 minutes.
Farm people at the graveyard. That's
what I did.
It's the graveyard of the PvP world quest. So
it's pretty. Everyone's on board with
the
that.
The meta is to just sit there and then die and kill and die and kill and die and kill, and 5 minutes later you have your thing. Like
they're so cringe.
Everybody that's there is doing the same thing. It's nobody is there like getting ganked or whatever. You're sitting at a PvP graveyard.
It's like a condensed
fighting.
Battleground.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a permanent brawl that's happening.
How long did it take you? How long did it take you guys?
5 minutes.
Well, I flew in and fell barrage and instantly got it done. So
that's pretty good.
or you're just a demon hunter.
I sat there and thrashed because this was on my alt, because I did this on my alt to get my alt to renown 10. I haven't done it on my main yet.
Yeah, fair enough.
Cool. Yeah. So good tip. Good tips all around, I think. Let's move on to our dungeon.
Useful tips. That's crazy.
Yeah, 3 useful tips. That is. It's got to have been 100 episodes since then, yeah.
They gave us a new patch, man. You get one a patch.
All right, so starting off our dungeon preview. First of all, if you join our Discord, we have a Weak Auras and Resources channel where Trell, you've posted a bunch of good stuff, and other people are also posting a bunch of good stuff. But a very good place to go if you are looking to kind of get set up with UI and add-ons and stuff and routes for these dungeons at the start of the patch. So do go check that out if you are in our Discord. Free to join for anybody. Links are in the description and stuff.
Yeah, we got a banger Discord. I posted an auto marker, like the typical auto marker that some people make per every season. Dungeon pack that one of my friends is making. I don't think Relo made one this time, so that's the best one I have so far. Spells on nameplates. Mirez is maintaining that now instead of Relo.
That shit's OP.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And a couple other things. I can't remember what else. Just some routes, like Jarno said.
Yeah, generic routes. Automarker, I think, was also in there.
Yeah, automarker.
I think the other thing to know, like going into the season, is like there are a couple dungeons that are a lot easier than a couple of other dungeons. I would say if you can try to farm like Atal, Waycrest, and Blackrock Hold, those are by far the easiest dungeons. And then I would stay away from probably the Dawn of the Infinites and Throne of the Tides.
Yep, I'd say so. Well, those three are going to be harder. Just the Dawns and Throne of the Tides.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say they're impossible, but
Dawn has some items I need, so I'll be going there.
Same.
I mean, but the Dawns and Throne of the Tides are doable. It's just like I wouldn't do them outside of. I wouldn't do them in a pug, right? Like you can do them in a coordinated group of people who have done the dungeons before. It's just like all three of those dungeons have pretty bad pug killer bosses in different areas, and some of the trash is very, very, very challenging. And so, like,
yeah.
I mean, the trash being challenging is only a thing for Throne of the Tides. The bosses are like Nuclear and Dawn, though. I don't know. I think that those dungeons are much harder than the rest. They're doable though, but it's just like I would give it some time at least.
All right, so do we want to start off with Dawn of the Infinite? These two.
Yeah, let's jump
in.
Cool. So the way we're going to structure this is we've kind of picked out 2+ of the most important things to know about each dungeon. Which, by the way, for the Dawn of the Infinites as well, there may be some other content coming out in the next couple of days in various places that you could find some more of that kind of stuff. But there is the first one, which is Galakrond's Fall. So this is the one that ends with Iridikron. This is the one that drops the cheat death trinket that is really, really good. At least that's what I'm looking at. There's also a bunch of good weapons in both ones that are good and a bunch of other good trinkets. So I think there's a good chance that a lot of specs will be looking at a Dawn of the Infinite dungeon as their primary farm dungeon because they have these pushed mega dungeon things in them that the other dungeons don't have. Okay, so what do we want to start with? What's kind of the first thing you'd say to somebody going to do their first Dawn of the Galakrond's Fall of the patch? You're
probably going to go over count in this dungeon.
Yeah, if you don't skip stuff, yeah.
This dungeon is like mega easy to get 125% enemy forces, I think, if you don't pull correctly.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that you can kind of skip in these dungeons, but a lot of times if you don't skip anything, you're gonna pull like 120% trash. The first area in this dungeon is pretty easy though. I think you only really need to start worrying in the second area, which is on the screen right now. This trash is probably the hardest trash, I'd say. Except for maybe the dragons before the third boss.
I think Dragon's had a good tip on the Guild Clash. Whenever we were casting Guild Clash, if you ever see a dragon in any of the Dawn of the Infants dungeons, you know that this is probably a good time to pop offensive and defensive cooldowns.
True.
Yeah.
All the dragons are like,
they're all,
for some reason, so hard.
They're all pretty nuclear. This area as well, the sand area in Galakrond's. Another thing to note is that like every mob has a Dispel, so don't pull too much. Mass Dispel still gets value here. Warlocks with Imp Pets still get value here, but just Healer Dispel is something that they'll probably have to use roughly on cooldown in this area, so be wary of that.
I think second boss of this dungeon's probably the hardest part. Manifest Timeways. Maybe the last boss, making sure that you have people inside of the soak permanently, is also a bit challenging. But I think Timeways boss is like. I think it's very easy to die on this fight.
I think the third boss, the slime boss, is actually going to farm people.
Okay, so all the bosses you think are going to farm people?
Second, third, and last boss, yeah.
Okay. I think that this fight is hard because like a lot of people's tendency is to run left whenever he starts doing the fragment of time like circles that are on the ground. But your tendency should 100% to be just book it right permanently, and then just like do what Trell is doing basically in this VOD, where he is running inside of the orbs and making sure that the orbs are always like behind him, and he's always moving just counterclockwise.
Yeah, the best system I have for this is like when he starts the cast, look for the 2 wispy animations on his sides, and then go like right between them as fast as you can, and then hug right. And then if you're doing that, and then also dropping off your debuff in the fast zone, which is the lighter zone, then you're gonna be fine on this boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those orbs will basically kill you, right? Like they don't straight up one shot you depending on the key level, but like it's bad to get hit by even one.
Yeah.
What part do you think is hard about Blighted Galakrond? Last 50% whenever the double dragon spawns?
I think it's gonna be a surprise how hard the juggling mechanic is. For inexperienced tanks, like if the tanks haven't played PTR like I have, then it's gonna be like you're gonna instantly kill your melee when you run across them, first of all. Or when they run across you, they'll steal from you and just die because it does so much damage when you transfer it.
Yeah.
And also you have to make sure that it gets onto the tank at a specific time each time, which is going to be a trial and error kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So be prepared to wipe on this boss once or twice, I'd say, until everyone knows what's going
on. Corrosion is like feign deathable and meldable as well.
Yeah, the initial cast, you'll remove one cast, like you'll just be chilling for 30 or 45 seconds or whatever, which is nice.
Until it casts it again. Yeah. Like it's not that it won't like it casts it periodically over the course of the whole entire fight.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. All right, next Dawn of the Infinite wing is Murozund's Rise, which is of course the other wing. This one is also nasty, and I think a hard thing to do with it is figure out exactly where you want to hit your bloodlusts.
I mean, it's fortified this next week, right?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, it's Tyrion right now.
Yeah, you can probably lust the first pull, make it kind of a nice meaty pull.
Do you know the maidens who shoot the boomerang orb actually do damage to mobs with the boomerang orb? Mm-hmm. I didn't know that until like somebody in my chat told me maybe 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I don't know. Like, does it do a lot of damage, or
it's going to? Yeah, it's going to do big damage high keys.
It's not bad. Yeah, it's actually it's not bad damage.
It's doing like relatively the same amount that you would say the spotter did in Siege of Borealis on like a low key. So like that's how you know it's going to be big.
Yeah,
I don't think it damages the mini bosses, the other mini bosses. I could be wrong, but I don't
like
think
the lizards.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just the little guys kills them.
I think probably the 2 hardest parts of this dungeon are first figuring out where you're lusting. That's like what Battlefield and Morchi. I think are probably the only other 2 really challenging parts of this dungeon. Not dying to these dragons also, I guess.
Yeah, all the mini boss dragons. The sand area is pretty harsh, right?
The sand area is very weird. So the way this works is there's these rift mages in this whole area, and they're the ones that summon ads consistently. So you want to like carve. Well, first of all, you want to get to both the right portal and the left portal. That's how you end the RP and open up the gateways. Nothing else matters. You just have to like walk up to both portals, and then you're good to go. But the rift mages you kind of want to kill as you go because they're the ones that spawn all these guys constantly. So you just want to make like an L-shaped path. I'd say that's the best way if I can think of it so far.
Yeah, the portals seem to me like you don't really actually like use them, that they leave behind on death, right? Like
you only use them if you ever like die.
If you're running back, you can use them to save a little time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think in general it's just like Morchi and Battlefield. Do you have a preference for where you're going here? Or do you think it's just based on like where you think you're going to get your lust?
So you actually, it's probably going to be based on lust or which mobs you want to skip, because whichever way you go first kind of dictates a pack that you can skip easily later on.
Yeah.
It's like, let's say you go right first, which is I think what we do in this run. But if you go right first, you don't have to pull that the Manta Ray pack that's next to Battlefield.
Yes.
I think is what it is. And the Manta Ray does like this crazy debuff. Like you don't want to pull that guy. It's ridiculous.
that guy's beans. I think he'd rather lust Battlefield though, right? Like I'm pretty sure that's the lust.
Probably, yeah.
This boss is hard. Like I think that there's actually a pretty don't let the boss stack up the thirst of battle wherever that buff is. He gets it from killing like these neutral mobs here, and so basically make sure that whenever he's blade storming, don't let him blade storm on top of those mobs, otherwise he's going to buff himself up, and make sure that you bait his shockwave away from them. So you're going to want to like stack your group towards the edge of the room. You're going to want to kind of tank the boss away from the edge of the room because the shockwave goes on players, kind of like what's happening here. And then you take the blade storm like around the edge as opposed to taking it straight through the yellow mobs that are fighting. Because if you do that, then you're going to like buff up the boss. And then beyond that, it's like what? CC the axe thrower whenever that comes out, because that mob is hard. Very hard.
You want to kick the summoner and you want to kill the axe thrower. Yeah. It's really weird. The design of this boss like makes you want to play on the edge the entire time. Like you don't actually use that room whatsoever.
Yeah, because if you're standing in the middle, you're just gonna bait mechanics to kill the ads, right? That's not
boss.
good.
Yeah. I mean, the boss does a lot of tank damage, right? I mean, that's what I've heard from people. Like, I'm a tank, but like I hear that tanks always complain that they're getting melee to death by this guy.
I think so, but yeah, it's more of the fact that if he kills a guy in the middle, he gets a stack that every melee. I just died. He just gets a stack where he just like does giga AoE damage every melee swing.
Yeah, Synth was getting just clocked by this guy on a Prot Warrior. I don't know. Might be something with Prot Warrior in this boss.
Maybe he does magic damage then. I haven't checked.
I don't know. It's not blockable or something weird.
Wait, okay. Why does it say Tyr the Infinite Keeper is the first boss and then Blight of Galakrond?
It was
yeah, that's bugged.
It was bugged all of PTR. Just don't worry about it.
Funny. Okay, how about Morchi?
Time traps got nerfed a lot, so they no longer do instant damage. They do. They leave a dot. I would never stack up the dot more than 2. Like if you get 3 stacks of that dot, you might be in trouble.
Does that dot refresh?
Yeah.
When you break a trap? Okay.
Yeah.
Morchi, I think the easiest pug strat is probably going to be CC your own ad if you can. So like you all run to the middle, drop your ads, and then those that can CC their ads, they should, and then everybody else run back to the edge somewhere to or clear your ad on a trap while you run. Basically,
you can technically leave them CC permanently with things like Ring of Frost, Entangling Root, Landslide Root.
Yeah, if you're in a coordinated group, by all means, try to master them, fear them, anything.
Yeah, I think the landslide tech or whatever on that. If you can do that, it's worth like doing some typing to make sure your group does that if you're trying to pug this. It makes it a lot easier. All right, do we want to move on to Atal'dazar? Atal'dazar?
Yeah,
this is probably the easiest dungeon of the season, right?
How do you like to path through here?
I'm trying to think if it actually is the easiest. I mean, I think it's fairly easy for
people
everyone.
were doing it the highest level in PTR.
Yeah, there's just a lot of coordination stuff because the way these mobs work is
sure.
But yeah, so basically, I would go left if you have Vengeance Demon Hunter, or you have a bunch of coordinated kicks, or a Boomkin or something of the sort. Otherwise, you probably want to go right. I would say.
I think that in most pugs that you're going to be running with, they're going to go right. I think that it's. I think if you're doing this in a pug, expect to go right. That's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, the right-hand path. I do think these mobs on the left are a little bit more coordination intensive than the right-hand side, right? So you kind of just want to skip them if you're in a pug.
Confessors and Augurs require a certain amount of kicks, and dealing with the Juggernaut is...
Yeah, so they both require a lot of kicks, and you should technically have a range standing on a snap spot, which I think somebody is in this spot up there on that marker on blue.
It looks like somebody came out of the spot. I actually couldn't tell what happened. So looks like the Evoker came out of the spot and died or something. I don't really know what was happening. Oh, somebody died again.
Yep.
Yeah, like even with
the side in a coordinated group, right?
With coordination, we're dying. So that's a telltale sign. Like maybe just go right.
What about snapping in this dungeon? Is there ever anything good you can snap in here?
I mean, they changed snapping, right? So a lot of it's no path available. So it works like almost in reverse of what it did back in BFA, where so instead of snapping mobs to you instead like get into spots where mobs can't attack you. And so I mean there are some spots where you can deal with like juggernauts and Saurids effectively, but like
the short answer is you can't really snap Saurids anymore.
Yeah,
you have to just play them up front, or allow your ranged players to stand in a snap spot where they don't get hit, but everybody else kind of has to play them normal.
I think you just deal with the Saurids natty, make sure that you just know that they on their leap damage it's like AoE, so you kind of stay spread, like that kind of stuff. You just kind of deal with it natty. If you see the Juggernaut's cast go off, you can like stun that, and he doesn't recast as well. Whatever it's called, like whirling something.
Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, you can comfortably pull like 5 Saurids. You can even do 10 Saurids if you have big CDs, something to lock them down.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't go any bigger than that at the moment until better strategies come out.
I think holding W through this dungeon, like you're gonna be able to time this key. This key is not that hard. Just like make sure that you stay alive and like just really go through the process. If you play this dungeon back in BFA, I think this one should be pretty easy.
Yeah, they made it a lot. Like the honor guards are a lot less bad. There's not 2 of them in front of the door to Volcall anymore, right? So That's
Hoodoo
pretty nice.
Hexers, I mean, they're not great, but at the same time, they're still not like that dangerous anymore either.
Okay. That's a pretty quick one, I guess, but we can get on to Waycrest Manor.
Manure.
Waycrest Manor. Yeah. Another classic dungeon. This is another one that we think is pretty easy compared to the other available ones this season, right?
Did you play this one in PTR at all, Dreadnought?
Yeah.
What'd you think? Because they nerfed a lot of what was hard about it.
They did, yeah. I definitely felt like as a BFA player, it definitely felt easier than then for sure, especially Hearthbane Triad.
Yeah, Triad's been nerfed a bunch. I think the hardest part of the dungeon is probably what, like Soulbound Goliath.
Yeah, I'd say Soulbound Goliath's the hardest boss. There's a couple gotchas on that boss, but first, I'd say we should mention the second phase of Hearthbane Triad. Will probably kill your group if you haven't done it before, where you need to like constantly move around and stay spread and pop defenses to stay alive. So just keep that in mind going into that boss. It's when Malady becomes active, the second witch. This boss has like 6 phases total, where each boss holds the whatever item they have.
Iris. The iris. Yeah.
Until they hit 50% HP, and then it moves on to the next phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Goliath boss, definitely the hardest opponent here currently. And it's one, going to kill your tank once it reaches a certain amount of stacks, depending on the tank. And 2, whenever the tank soaks it in fire, whether that's on purpose or accidentally, all the little fiery dudes are going to chase down your healer and punch them to death.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
You can't see them really. There's no health bars on them, so your healer needs to know to run away from them.
Yeah, the red things. Those are nasty.
So, Soul Thorns have 50% more HP, 150% more HP than they did in BFA or something ridiculous. Like it's one of those things that, depending on your group and like depending on like what you have available for you right then, the Soul Thorns are really, really hard to kill. Like Havoc Demon Hunter can kill them off pretty quickly, but say you're playing Havoc Og +1 and the other like the Havoc gets CC'd, and then it's just the Og and the +1, and the +1 doesn't have like DPS for it. It's like, oh my god, that Demon Hunter's gonna sit in that thing forever.
Yeah. You can kind of, so the way to deal with thorns and the way it was in BFA as well is to like pre-immune a thorn if you can. You can like press meta right as the thorn's about to come out. You can pre-shapeshift, I think, as Druid, and then shift out.
Yeah. Something. Well, it's not you shift out. You have to go into cat form for some reason. It doesn't stun you. Does Shaman Wolf work against it?
I don't think so.
Mages can just blink out of it if they don't have
they're
talented.
Because it's a stun. You can bop out of it as well.
Yeah. It's a weird effect, the things that work against it, but yeah.
I would say if you're going to clear the boss's stacks, like with fire, make sure you do it after a person gets broken out of the Soul Thorns. Like be pre-looking for like the lightning that you're going to look for the strike on, and then like after the Soul Thorns comes out, start moving the boss towards that fire, and then like after they get broken out of the Soul Thorns, then you just like contact the boss with the fire.
Yeah, you want to make sure it's a relatively new fire, because every single tank player has done this at one point or another, where they try to go break the boss on a patch of fire, and then it disappears right before it gets there.
Drados has gave a look whenever you said that.
I'm familiar with this maneuver. Yeah. Been there.
Oh my god.
Okay, then end of the dungeon, Gorak Tool area. Anything to note about this?
I think it's just the death wins from the slavers, right? That's hard.
Gorak Tool's pretty easy technically. I'd like the +20 level. It's gonna be pretty easy, but yeah, you just got to CC the slavers. That's about it.
Make sure that somebody knows what they're doing with the fire.
Yeah. Have an assigned fire person, get a nice loose clump. They do some cleave when they leap, right? The slavers, so you don't want to be 5 stacked.
Yeah.
But you do want to be kind of in a little 10-yard clump, which is definitely doable.
They fixed the spots for the slavers for both the trash and the boss ones, where before you would just like put somebody in a no path spot and then they would do nothing, but now they fixed how those mobs work.
Yeah. I'd say the only other gotcha I can think of in the dungeon for now is the fact that whenever you summon one of the witches that are around the dungeon, they have a chance of being a witch that requires no kicks but does like a big channel.
Oh fuck yeah, the Soul Charmer, bonus Soul Charmer,
Thorn,
or a Soul Charmer.
Yeah, Vine Twister.
is a
Mind
Rune
Twisters
Carver.
don't exist anymore, actually.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So it's either Soul Charmer or Rune Weaver, or whatever it's called.
Rune Carver, yeah.
But you need to watch these. If it's a Soul Charmer, it requires 3 kicks
That's
to
good.
not
And it
let
drops
anyone
candles.
die.
And it drops candles.
It's insane. They need to nerf that mob. And there's also one of those permanently downstairs right before Lord and Lady Waycrest, so you can become acquainted with that.
I think there's 2. I think there's one in the corner and there's one like in
There
the
is
middle of
2,
the
yeah.
room, right? Yeah.
That one in the corner used to be a marked sister. It used to one-shot a tank player with its magic hit.
Spell reflect. Yeah. All right, let's do Blackrock Hold next. Returning dungeon from the Legion expansion.
This dungeon's great. I think that most of this dungeon's just based on like your tank's ability to big pull trash and like knowing what you should and should not pull together. I think because I don't know, most of the bosses are pretty straightforward. I don't think that they're like.
Yeah, if you played this back during Legion, it is worth noting that like you do need more count than you did back then. So
sure, yeah. You have to do like first pull the dungeon as opposed to full skipping everything at the beginning.
Right. Yeah, so be aware of that.
So I think that there are like three big pulls that you need to know. It's like what, the spider pull, the pull with all the spinny indigestion fire breathing guys, and the dominator pull, right, Trell?
Yeah, so these are the 3 hard pulls. The first one, the spider pull after this first boss. If you're a tank player, you need to somehow have enough speed to get past all these spiders before they kill you. And like get a little bit of throw on them as you go, because they give you the stacking magic dot that's dispellable, but it takes really, really hard, and you don't want to tank them if you can help it. So typically you want to go all the way up these stairs. You'll see in this spot if you're a watcher, and you pull these into the next pack so that you have a lot of room.
Okay, we actually broke this up into 2 pulls in this VOD. I see.
Oh yeah, I guess we stopped here. Yeah, but typically you can go past this. It's honestly a little bit easier in some cases.
Yeah. You just carry it all the way up to the top, and then you just make sure to nuke it down. Like, but again, it's about the magic damage dot from the spiderlings. That's probably the hardest part of this whole entire pull.
Yeah, and then this area that we're in right now, you just gotta CC the knife dance from the scouts, I think is what they're called.
Yeah, that's what they are.
And you want to avoid the arrow barrage. That's about it.
Companion leap. So companion is the cat. It works very similar to like Court of Stars cats, where you should probably like be looking to stun it, displace it, whatever, while it's in the air, to make sure it's not gonna leap on you. But like, if it does, make sure you're spread because it actually hits for pretty hard. But yeah, so yeah. I think the second pull is like the traditional Blackrock Hold large pull with the, I don't even know what are the large mobs and the indigestion guys even called. I don't even know what they're called.
They're the Wrath Guards or the bigger mobs.
Okay.
They have like an outrangeable tank channel.
Yeah.
From what I remember from Legion. And then the little guys, I can't remember, like tricksters or
tricksters. That's exactly what they are.
Yeah. So these mobs are ridiculous. They do basically nothing for like 20, maybe 15 seconds, and then once they hit 15 seconds in combat, they drink a potion. You want to delay this drink potion cast as long as you can, because once they finish the cast, they do one of 3 things. They either die immediately, they turn into a dude that fire breathes permanently, which does a lot of damage, just no
or the Beyblade.
Or the Beyblade, which has no cast indicator and instantly kills all the melee.
I will say that these mobs, if you have triple range, you actually don't have to do anything with them. You can actually just let them cast and you can walk away if you're the tank.
Yeah, these mobs are funny, man. This is a cool pull, though. If you can pull this off, it's really fun.
How hard is this pull, do you think, to do on a scale of 1 to 10? I feel like this pull is like pretty easy if your tank is able to like not die on the setup.
Yeah, I'd say it's like mostly in the hands of the tank. Yeah, just completely depends.
Yeah, sure. What would you recommend for dominators for pugs? Yeah, I don't know. This is the hard part. Like, I don't know what to recommend for pugs for dominators because those mobs are hard. This
is the hardest part of the dungeon by far. These dominators used to be slowable for one, and that's how we dealt with them in Legion, but they're not anymore. They're lieutenant mobs for some reason. So you not only do they require 2 kicks per mob, unless you have a shaman, they can solo one, or a blood decay, I think, as well.
Yeah.
You have to have 2 kicks per mob, but also they will assign the Fellbats around them to focus on a player instantly. There's no cast indicator for this either. And someone in melee is going to instantly die to this.
So I would recommend right now, if you're listening to this, open up Bigwigs, go to Blackrock Hold, and look for the trash ability named Sick Bat and apply an air horn sound effect to it right now. It is as a ranged player, I have died many times to it. And the fact that, like, if I'm a ranged player dying to the sick bat cast, melee players die almost immediately to it. It is actually not super clear whenever you're getting the ability cast on you.
Yeah, I don't really know how to deal with that as melee yet.
Poorly.
But I would say
Die.
only pull 2 of these dominators at a time maximum. Like no way do you ever pull 3.
What I would recommend, I think, is breaking it up into 2 separate pulls. I would probably pull the landing dominator and then the bottom dominator down to the bottom, and then
Yeah.
I would move my group all the way into the smash bite boss room. I would just do it in probably 2 separate pulls. I think that's probably
Right.
the easiest way of doing it, because also that, like, so the bats continuously spawn until you make it up in a smash bites room, but if you But like if you pull back far enough, you can actually stop the bat waves. And I mean, we even in the VOD that we're watching, we wiped this pull. I think that
you pretty much wipe here every single time, no matter what key level. It's crazy. It's really hard. They need to change something. But I was gonna say, if you're more experienced, you can actually invis pot the first 2 dominators.
Yeah.
Or you can attempt a shroud, but it's a really hard shroud as well. So honestly, I would recommend invising these 2 and just going straight into the boss room immediately, so that you only have to kill 1 wave of bats ever. Instead of like 4 or 5 waves.
I mean, do you think a pug is really going to do that though?
Not a pug, but like a high skill guild group could. Yeah. I think.
Sure. Yeah. If you know it's coming, make sure to save invis potions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pug is probably going to have more trouble with just fighting them straight up as well, right? Like that's going to be really nasty. So I don't know. Challenging pulls for sure. All right, let's move on to DHT, Darkheart Thicket. How do you guys feel about this in terms of just like relative difficulty to the other ones?
I'd say it's like in the middle.
Okay.
Probably.
I think if you know what to do at the very beginning of this dungeon, like trash wise, it's actually pretty easy. Just knowing what to pull and what to skip. Did you know, by the way, that these poisoners and ruiners in these pulls can actually proc different mobs, Trell?
Yeah, it's just RNG if they're a caster or a poisoner.
I sent this to somebody the other day. Hold on, let me see.
That is wild.
It is wild. So, and the only thing to know about that, ruiners, giga free. If there's 4 poisoners, do not pull that. That is a good way to just completely wipe your run at that point.
Yeah, it might be fine in your 20 or 15 that you're doing, but eventually you might have to CC one or something if you have more than 2 poisoners.
You should get one shot with the poison. But yeah, I think the only thing to like really notice is like Night Stalker's damage is like pretty insane. Those are the cats. And then the bear, like make sure you skip the double bear pull. Like that pull is not doable. I would skip that with an invisibility potion. Make sure that everybody has invis potions, even in like a pug. That is like, there are other ways to skip it. You know, with the rescue, with
yeah, you can rescue a 3-person mount over the route.
Exactly.
Someone could pull the bears off to the side and invis.
I feel like that's what we end up doing all the time. Is like we pull the bears to the side and I end up melding it off. But like, do not pull those. Those mobs suck.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's what, like living Oakheart, making sure that your tank doesn't get like noob gapped on that boss.
Yeah, Oakheart's interesting. For the group, it's pretty straightforward. You just use a defensive on the stomp. That's about it.
Yeah.
For the tank, he has 2 tank busters. The breath is like the average tank buster, and then he has like a giga tank buster where he picks you up and squeezes you and then throws you at a ranged player. And the grip like takes you out of consecrate. It's non-immunable by bubble, so it's basically just a prop paladin killer. And I think it's environmental damage, so it's not death strikeable. Like it's all kinds of like,
that's so messed up. Yeah.
just screw you tank player kind of thing.
I mean, in Legion, I would actually taunt off the tank sometimes and just like fully sack myself to it, and then just get battle rezzed.
Yeah, hopefully they change that. That feels a little outdated, but just be aware of that for now.
Yeah, it's just a lot of damage. I think it's like pretty. It's at a certain level, it becomes really hard. Like at initial levels, it's like at lower levels, it's probably fine. Like you're just gonna DR straight through it, but at higher levels, it's very scary.
How about the bats at the end of the dungeon?
Yeah,
those apply a poison, right? But they're kiteable.
Yeah, so these bats their poison's kind of insane. It can one-shot the tank currently.
Yeah, the Bloodseekers. Yeah.
It's just something to be aware of. Like if your tank doesn't know, or if you are the tank player and you don't know yet, just be very, very careful pulling any kind of bat.
Yeah, look at that. You can see on the frame there, like a tick took him from 100 to 30 or something. So Poison Dispel big for sure.
Poison Dispel's big, but I mean, again, you can kite those mobs. Like the pull
Yeah.
that they're doing right here isn't one that's like commonly done. I think that like a lot of the times that pull's actually pretty like skipped, pretty reliably. But like say you do pull up, like I think 1 bat's fine. It's that 4 bat pack that's in the
4
middle.
bats before it.
Yeah, I would definitely kite that for sure.
Just kite that.
All right, we've got like 2 more to go.
This
Up
is the only
next
hard part of the dungeon.
Everbloom. Yeah.
The only hard part of the whole entire dungeon is right here.
So this is the 3 mobs before Archmage Soul. And yeah, I mean, you can see on the timer, right? You guys are just smashed all the way through the dungeon up to this point, and nothing's gone wrong at all. How about this 3 pull? What's the lore here?
So these 3 mobs are like the 3 mage specs, basically. So you're fighting 3 OP mage players, and all of them one-shot with their cast, except for the Frost Mage, does a little bit less damage. They're undertuned. And
Buff Frost.
Buff Frost. The Fire
Do
and
not buff Frost. Shut up.
Arcane and Fire both one-shot, and they require 2 kicks per mob.
Yeah.
For both the Fire and Arcane. So you have to have 4 dedicated kicks on those, and probably target one down and kill it before you run out of kicks. And then meanwhile, the Frost Mage is bolting people for like 80% of their health every single cast. And then you also have to survive that plus an overlap of the Fire Mage doing like an AoE.
It does. Yeah, it's an ability called Salvo, and it does like let's say 20 hits. And so if one person's dead, it's 5 per person as opposed to 4 per person, and it's just like holy shit. That is the way that ability works is insane.
It's pretty rough. So this is by far the hardest pull. If you can get through this, just use everything, send Blessed, get through it, and you're good.
We were talking about this before the podcast. Yeah, just full send Lust.
Like, this is a lust like on Tyrant, right?
I don't know if I'd lust it on Tyrant. It depends on the dungeon.
Maybe
level.
not on Tyrant. I don't know.
Like, Group Steer and Guild Clash didn't lust it on Tyrant 22, but like, I would sure as hell lust it week 1 whenever people don't know what they're doing.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so like I would recommend using a lot on this pull, whether it be Fort or Tyrant, and then doing some other pull before the boss, so you can get some resources back, your cooldowns back, or whatever. Like you can clear the trash at the exit toward the last boss in between all this.
I mean, the assistants, they just do fungal punch and like that's it, right? They don't really do anything else.
Yeah, they just hit the tank, which they hit the tank really hard, but they just hit the tank at least.
Yeah, there's a lot of mobs that are in this dungeon that just hit the tank. So
the only other notable thing in Everbloom, I would say, is the Abomination plus Berserker pulls.
Oh yeah,
the Abominations do a lot of group damage with their like big stomp ability, and then the Berserkers will charge range and probably one shot them.
So the deal with the Berserker charge is like, it does a Blade Storm, but like it starts the Blade Storm like while you're in midair, and so like you need to be far enough away from the Berserkers and pre-move once it leaps to you. And if you pre-move the Berserkers while they're leaping to you, you can actually dodge all of the whirlwind damage. But if you don't do exactly that, then you're getting hit by the initial hit of the whirlwind, which drops you to like, 30% HP.
Yeah, so just be aware of those. You can kind of stop them midair, I think, if you stun them in time.
I don't think they're CCable by anything that's not a dis. Wait, are they actually CCable? Hold on.
Yeah, the Berserkers are.
Okay, the Abominations aren't. I know you can Ursul's them back into melee and it's like fine, but like maybe stunning them's fine. I don't know.
How about last boss? How do you guys like easy enough or?
I think this boss is hard on like high levels on a high level Tyrant. I feel like we were struggling a little bit with it. I don't think it's going to be difficult for like average players for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, this boss seems pretty easy. You don't even have to stomp all the flowers that he spawns. You can just stomp most of them and kick the others.
I think the big thing with this boss is like, once you start to get up to high levels, whenever he summons that big oak tree, and then he's also doing the stomp on top of that, like those two things in conjunction with one another, because whenever that oak tree is active, he's like pulsing AoE damage. Like both of those things together become a bit sketch, but like at like a lower level, it's pretty easy to just like, not take that much damage from either the stomp or the passive damage from the oak, and you're like mostly fine.
All right, we don't have any background footage for Throne of the Tides, but
wait, hold on. I'm sure whatever. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We don't need it. Yeah, there's another one of those dungeons that's a little bit sketchy to start out with. A couple of strange pulls, right? A couple of dangerous enemies.
I think this dungeon is mostly just trash, right, Charles?
Yeah.
Like it's mostly just like trash mobs.
I'd say the casters that hex people, it's nice to have a curse dispel, or
The witch.
just- yeah, the Tempest Witch or something.
Yeah.
You can CC them or kick them, or just dispel it. So there's nice counterplay there. Be aware that the debuff that the Sentinels, is that what they are, put out is pretty nasty.
Yeah.
You can actually LOS it. If you're the tank and most of the pack's dead, you can like drag the Sentinel over to a pillar and then LOS any of the casts that are later in the pool, which is kind of nice.
So the Sentinel is a heal absorb. It like puts like it is like a massive heal absorb. Even on like a level 20, it is just like an insanely large heal absorb that goes onto you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about bosses. I think the bosses are pretty straightforward. The tentacle guy, the mind control guy, he summons a totem. What that totem does is actually just tank damage. It makes him attack the tank twice as fast, I believe.
Oh.
While it's out. So
wait, why do I kill that totem?
I shouldn't have told you this.
Yeah,
Wait a second. I thought it did AoE damage. Hold on.
And so if your tank can live, then you can like kind of ignore the totem, but just be aware that if your tank doesn't know, he's probably going to die instantly when the totem comes out. These sentries at the very end of the dungeon, the large elementals, are the other like biggest danger in this dungeon. They're just going to flat out kill people with their AoE swell cast.
I mean, they got hotfixed this week to no longer be purgeable. I don't know what you're supposed to do about those mobs now.
Did they lower the damage or just
no?
Okay, so yeah, I don't know.
Yes, there's this gauntlet of slimes during this whole part that come out, and every time you kill a slime, you get a debuff that makes you take increased shadow damage, and the swell is shadow damage.
Yeah.
So before, like, you were almost dying to a single tick, and then you purge the mob so it would stop swelling. But now you get to take the entire channel, so you have to really be prepared for that area.
You guys can write this down right now. I would project that after a week of the dungeons being alive, I think that Swellcast is going to get its damage cut probably like in half even. I think it's going to take like a 50% nerf. It is like massively overtuned.
I suspect I think that's like one of the most likely nerf candidates.
Snapdragons are also a bit weird that Trell didn't cover. Snapdragons are like mobs that put a bleed on auto attacks, and then they also do like a fixate. The fixate is like not CCable in the sense of it continues the fixate through the CC, so CCing the mobs doesn't really do anything. They also charge players whenever they fixate you. So like, I mean, what I found to be the easiest way is right before they start fixating people, I Ursul's Vortex them, and then they don't recharge me. But again, if you don't have access to Ursul's, I don't know exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, anything to keep them in melee and in the blender for them to die is good.
I mean, if you have a Frost Mage, like you just keep them slowed with like orb and stuff, and you're kind of chilling. But the bleed also does like an insane amount of damage to your tank, even at like 2 or 3 stacks. So it is a bleed that is nasty.
Yeah, and then I guess that's it for this dungeon, right? Like last boss, not you if you fall behind on the ink clearing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a gotcha.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you completely clear the ink each time you have the water hose mechanic. Otherwise, you're going to get overrun. I think there's still no way to recover if you miss one puddle.
I believe that's also correct. I haven't messed it up in a bit, but whenever it got released, it was impossible to catch back up if you messed it up at least one time.
It's also worth noting that the ads that spawn also drop ink. So tanks, what you should do is group up everything as tight as you can, and then place them like right outside the boss's model, and then have people that get the next set of ink put them right next to the existing ink, so that it's really easy to clear all of it.
Cool.
I think that's about it.
I think that's our little crash course guides to each dungeon. 5 minutes or so on each one. Pretty good. We're gonna do.
We were really trying to make sure this wasn't gonna be long, but this is like, holy shit, this is what you need to know before you jump into every single key.
We're going to try and do the dungeon episodes earlier this season than we did last season as well. So that might begin as early as like our next episode or two. I guess next episode will probably be looking back at the Race to World first, but the one after that even could be the start of our dungeon stuff. We'll see.
Oh, I can believe that actually.
Yeah, could be a vibe. But yeah, let's get to our Q&A. But first, we get to thank our supporters over on the Patreon. They include... I peed my pants when I saw Dratnos at BlizzCon.
Did that happen?
Wait, there was a sword in Silithus? I forgot it was there. Every time someone asks what sword, Magni cries literal tears of salt. Nevernude, Ja, King of Skills, Dratnos' Dino Pillow, Chromed, Trekkie, Chewy. Can't wait for Delves plus Nightmare version where there's Lightning Storm affix or Elite always have Suppressor. That's a Diablo 4 joke.
Oh,
Salty Senny, Necros, ZivXX, Tankdill, Nevuk, Eevee, Year of the Sphere has extended into 2023. Bless up. No Trick, I forgot I was subbed here. Dymat, Rework Mistweaver, Nyx. Even if you accidentally clicked Moonkin form one time, you automatically become a Tettles. Gallic, Brusif, Dratnos Artavis, Shadow Priest Rejoice. Naifu Waifu is back. Feels strong, man. Msanity, Xena, Rogue is now good enough for prog, but still bad enough to be sat for SLG. Bless up. Red Color, youtube.com/workbringer, Alphabet Soup, Druid Friends of Nevermore, number one Simski for Trelsky. Lurka is leaving the East Coast for the West Coast. Does anyone have any recommendations for fried chicken over there? The Thunder from Down Under needs his chicken fix. Milk, Sife, Pone, Windwalker Monks deal with nerfs by rolling with punches. Thesaurus.com is a powerful tool. The Marsh Hare. My raid buff is my great personality and good looks. I play Ellie Shaman. Thank you for listening to the Titanforge podcast, as brought to you by Daddy Dratty, Grampy Trelsky, and the Tuttles Effect, TM. Big Head Small Brain, King's Honor, fellow Horde, it's me, your newest guild member, Juniper. I have swapped to, the Juniper's a different person. It's King's Honor, yeah, those are two different names. The Juniper was after the comma, but I'm pretty sure those are two different people. Anyways, I've swapped to a human for my DK, so I'm also King's Honor right now. Best X-Pac ever, Husky Dog, Rat Run, Jato and Honeychug Forever, Chauncey, that moment when your tank says now where's my ranged at during Jade Serpent Dragon Boss and breaks your key. Feral Druids in the MDI, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, you don't have that yet? Boom. Sir Maticus, friend of the Grummels. The small mammal living in Dratnos' shirt. Sapphire. Can we please codify an abbreviation or better name for Mirdrasil? Because that is a mouthful full and not in a good way.
What does codify actually mean?
Yeah, like,
it's like
usually you
right?
codify like laws. Would be
Yeah.
what you do with them. But, I think it kind of works for an abbreviation. Like, lock in an abbreviation, right?
Okay.
For a Mirdrasil, I think people are doing like Amir, just AMIR, but I don't know.
Mirdrasil?
Yeah.
What's the full name of it? Mirdrasil what?
Let's see. Amir Drasil, the Dream's Hope. So ADH.
That seems so fucking bad. I don't like that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, it could. I suspect that'll be used around places as well. But yeah, Amir Drasil, a little bit of a mouthful for sure.
What do you think Europeans are going to pick? Come up with the worst possible abbreviation.
Oh, yeah. Europeans will call it Drasil or something. That's
Drass.
Yeah, Drass.
They'll call it Dreams Hope or some shit.
Yeah. That's some classic European. They're like, see army, 123, 123. How are you supposed to know what
Echo,
mean?
whatever fucking. Dude, they call it Echo Deltaria, whatever.
For DK hero talents, make Rider of the Apocalypse able to mount in combat. Slowest class is now the fastest. Make Vroom sound effects. I assume that's for me. I should have made Vroom sound effects there, but yeah, dude, a perma-mounted DK. Like, imagine if it was just perma-mounted like Warcraft 3 DKs, but it was just like just perma 30% move speed or something off of it. I don't know. Would that be too good in combat?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? Yeah. I'm losing my raid to Neltharion weak auras. I can definitely believe it's not butter. Rock and Stone, and so did Dratnos win the fight. Yeah, I beat up Frank at BlizzCon. That guy, it was good. I saw him. I was like, oh, good. He's not jacked.
Oh my god, you got Trump. Were you there?
Frank got me pretty good actually. He posed as like just a random fan or whatever. Like
I go, this guy wants to take a picture with you, Dratnos. And Frank just goes, "Hey man, what's up? Nice to see you." And Dratnos goes, "Oh, do you want a picture?"
yeah. So we just take a picture, and then he's like, "I'm Frank, by the way."
He goes, yeah. He took a picture with him. He goes, "Yeah, my name is Frank." That was so funny, man.
All right, we got some questions to get to. Our first one comes from Man Bear Logan that says, "I got a great question for the show this week. How many showers does Dratnos have banked for this season?" Well, it's tough. Because I just got back from BlizzCon, which I had banked showers for, so my bank was running low. So I've got a couple days now to refill. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go do after this episode is bank another shower real quick.
Can you bank multiple in a day? Does that work like that?
Yeah. Okay. It's annoying, right? Because you have to be dry when you get in.
Before.
Yeah.
Like you shower 4 times in one day, and then you just don't shower for 2 weeks because
Does it only count? Does it only count the bank if you also wash your hair, or is that like?
Yeah, you have to do like a full shower. You can't.
Okay.
You have to be dry as well. You can't just like turn on and off the knob. That would be stupid. Yeah.
Okay, good point.
Next question comes from Ua in Discord that says, "Are the 3 days early access for the Epic Edition of the next X-Pack, the first time actual player power in the form of 72 hours more / played is in the shop? Or does it not matter for endgame PvE content and only affects leveling and gold making? It's less player power than like gold was in the corruption season, buying corruption BOEs, which WoW token was on the AH there. You can't do M+ or other like weekly stuff during the early access. That's on the page already. Is like certain
even
in-game
M0s.
activities.
You can't even do you can't do heroic dungeons either.
So in terms of that, but also like it is player power to just get 72 more hours of leveling your guys, because then you don't have to do that once it actually does come out. So like if you're in Race to World first or whatever, obviously you're going to be buying this and leveling your guys 3 days early. Like it would be ridiculous not to. So it is player power that's in the shop in that sense. Yeah. It's not like hugely relevant for most guilds, right? But like most guilds of people, most people that are playing the game a lot, I think are going to feel pretty like you're just not going to want to not play when it comes out, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's the fear of missing out.
I
for sure.
I hate this. I don't think it actually does anything, but I don't like it in concept.
Yeah, it's icky. I do think it's not like adding a new pay to win element to the game. Like I think it's less pay to win than the WoW token, but it's like icky, right?
I mean, I'm already playing a game as a service that I pay per expansion. Why do that? So something feels weird to me about paying early to get like early access. Like that just seems so weird to me. I kind of hope they walk it back. Like I don't know if they will. Like
so many games have started doing this particular model now, where it's like companies have just found out that 3 or 4 days is enough to get people to spend 50% more money, but not enough to get people to stop buying it, and not enough to get the people who are like priced out of the $90 one to not buy the $60 one. So
it also worked with Diablo.
Yeah,
I agree though. On top of the monthly subscription, it feels like just so greedy. I don't know another way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you compare WoW to some of the other MMOs out there, and I still prefer the WoW model for the most part compared to stuff like the Lost Ark monetization model, those kind of things. In terms of like dollars per player that they're extracting. This is certainly this, plus if they're doing a more frequent expansion cadence as well, will mean that they're extracting more dollars per player from people, especially from anybody that's doing the early access, like buying Epic Editions or whatever. But I don't know.
From a business POV, it sounds amazing for them.
Yeah.
The most money they make is from expansion launch.
Money. Yeah.
But it sounds real good.
So for me, it's like this is something that is kind of like distasteful or whatever, right? Like it's not something that's gonna. It's not one of those things they could introduce that would make me be like, oh, this is bad. Like this is
not worth
bad,
buying.
right?
Like I'm done.
Like if they added like one aspect crest to the shop for $5, something like that, I would be like, this is very bad, right? Like this is fundamentally breaking the part of the game and turning the gameplay into money spending, which a lot of mobile games do that, right? And to me, this doesn't cross that line, but that's obviously like a subjective thing. So
right, it's not terrible. Like it's just how things are these days. I'd say.
I think it's nice the WoW sub price hasn't gone up a lot over the past 15 years. Their money has
I know.
There's been a lot of inflation over the past 20 years, and the price hasn't gone up on the sub. So
it's gone up if you're Canadian.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. They rebalanced for inflation a few years back for Canadians.
Yeah, I have bad news for all the Canadians out there. I care not for your plight.
Damn.
Next question comes from Muspel in Discord that says, do you think MDI would be more interesting if the format was changed so that the key levels weren't locked in, but instead the dungeon timers were say half what they normally are? So a 35-minute dungeon instead has a 17:30 timer. So this is like an MD. I'm not quite sure how this would work, because in current MDI, so you're saying instead of locking in a key level, you lock in a timer, and then you see who can do the highest key level in that timer?
Oh.
Is that what they're saying?
I feel like...
Because like already any 35-minute dungeon is already being done under 17:30 in MDI, but like obviously that's with locked key levels.
So I guess it'd be TGP format, but it's MDI in the sense of like you have a 10-minute timer for Atal'dazar.
Yeah, if you did TGP format with just giga shorter timers, so that it was like MDI style,
that would actually be pretty sweet.
I think that could be pretty cool. Yeah,
I would like that.
Yeah, you do like the 3 chest invitational or whatever, where it's like 60% of the timer or something, so that it's you go up to the level you can't 3 chests anymore, or something like that.
Yeah.
That could be kind of cool. I'd be down. I'd be down to. I'm definitely down to experiment with. I think there was an idea as well of just like when the key goes above 20, instead of getting more health and damage, the timer just got shorter. And that was an interesting idea I saw a long time ago.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Our next question comes. Oh, good.
I don't know. I think that the MDI in general, though, like, I don't know. I think there are other format options that they could mess around with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
All right, next question comes from Ragondo in Discord that says, how would you feel about Blizzard removing affixes for a fated season of M+? Perhaps keeping Tyrannical in fortified weeks, but otherwise removing the rest entirely. I feel like I would be...
Fated season.
I feel like I'd be logged out very quickly if there wasn't week-to-week difference in M+, in a season where that M+ wasn't useful for gearing, and like didn't matter for my raid power level. Because like the way I get sustained by M+ is like the first 5 weeks of the season or whatever, I'm blasting M+ because I need to gear my main. And then the next like 5 or 10 weeks, I'm doing a bunch of alt keys because I'm gearing up my alts for fun. And then I'm pushing keys on my main or whatever. And all of those would be a lot. I mean, I would still do the first one, but I probably wouldn't do the second and third of those phases if the affixes didn't keep things a little different from week to week, because it does get, I think it would get boring, but obviously like we haven't tried it, right, since challenge modes to have something that looked like that. So
do you really like see a set of affixes be like, oh, I want to play Mythic Plus because it has these affixes?
No, but it's more that it's different rather than how it's different, right? Like,
I feel like the game would just be better with just Fort Tyrannical, and that's it. Like,
I could be wrong. I like we're spitballing about something that people, and this, we look at these PTR keys you were doing, right? That's what you guys were doing on PTR, right? Is like,
yeah,
here's all is putting just fortified, like you would put fortified, tyrannical, or both, right? On all these keys.
Every now and then people get spicy and they're like, let's put bursting on this key, and then it just like nobody suggests an affix after that because nobody wants to do an affix. Everyone just wants to do the dungeon.
I would put like live affixes on the keys, but I always pick the fucking easiest ones.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
I would go through live affix combos. I'd see one with the Flictum, like absolutely fucking not. Incorporate, nope, that one's not going to my key either.
It's possible that this is something where like I'm saying I wouldn't like this, but I actually would, and it would be something that would be good to try. Fated season could be a good time to do it because that's kind of a whatever time, anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not confident in how it would turn out. All right. I think that's it for our questions this week, and therefore, that's it for our episode. We will be back in some number of weeks when the Race to World First is concluded, so we'll see you then.
Somewhere between 2 and 8.
It could be back next week if it's a little Xavius.
2 months later.
Holy shit. Can you imagine we're back? There's no way we're back next week.
Log in, right? Xavius moment. Xavius died. Xavius would have died in time for our podcast, is all I'm saying. If we were potting back then, we'd be doing.
So what would you be in the fucking warehouse room by yourself again?
Oh
yeah.
How many days do you guys think it's gonna last?
I think it'll be medium long. I think like 11.
I was thinking like 10. Yeah.
The problem with 10 and 11 is the 10th day is Thanksgiving, and so maybe the devs don't want to work on Thanksgiving and make it so it dies before then.
Okay. I mean, I'll say 9. I don't actually have a great opinion on this. I'll just go with 9.
I mean, I feel like so one of the things is the raid goes up by so much item level, and there's just like so much gear to be farmed. So there's not a heroic week, and the item level is expanding to 39 item levels as opposed to 26 or whatever it is normally. And so I think that there's just like a lot of stuff to do that I don't know if a 1 week tier is really that realistic. I mean, it's possible. It's possible if it's like undertuned, but I wouldn't wager on it. I think we'll see.
All right. We will see you all whenever we're back then.
Later, gamers. We're doing daily Race World First recap videos too, still. So yeah, watch those. Goodbye.